Que pasa? Bienvenido a Just Chris Podcast. Soy su anfitrión, Chris Carter. Y este es el episodio 13. What's goody, guys? Welcome back to this week's episode. And if you thought I was going to do it all in Spanish, just wait until next week. Happy to be back this week. I got a couple things in mind that I'd like to talk about. But before we get into that, I would like to give a little shout out to my man, Scott Barker. Now, Scott and I, we went to school together. We worked together as resident assistants. And he does make YouTube videos. And I came across his channel recently because he plugged it on his Snapchat. And when I watched his videos, man, I was incredibly impressed with it. He does a lot of action shots, a lot of shots with his drone. He goes on these crazy hikes and records it. And when I saw that, I reached out to him. I was like, Scott, incredible work. I'm just curious, but would you like to diversify some of your work? Would you be interested in, doing a little bit of work with my podcast? And Scott, being the man that he was, took on the challenge, and giving him a little shout out from last week because he did the work last week, and I plugged his information in the description. I'm going to plug it again this week, so check the description for Scott's channel. Scott, I appreciate the work. I'm looking forward to more of your videos. I'm looking forward to more work that you do for me. Happy with it. So that's what I got. Now, to get into this week's episode, I'm going to do a little weekend recap. And you're thinking, Chris, it's Friday. It's the weekend already. Why are you doing a weekend recap? Doing a weekend recap because, Super Bowl Sunday. You got to recap that. And then I actually went to my very first comedy show last Saturday. And that's what I'm going to talk about. That's why I'm doing a little weekend recap. So to begin, like I said, I went to my first comedy show ever. And I'd been trying to go to a show for very long now. And with the coronavirus and quarantine, everything like that, it has made it near impossible. And I've tried to go to open mics at a venue in Raleigh. And time again, when I've gone, it's just been closed. The place has been closed down. And then it wasn't until probably about 2 weeks ago, I had a friend from work reach out to me and another buddy. He said, hey, one of my favorite comedians is coming to town. Do you guys want to go with me? And I responded, yes, of course. Like, I haven't been to a show. I would love to go. And after that, he told us who it was, and it was comedian Shane Gillis. Now, if you're not familiar with Shane Gillis, I wasn't all that familiar with him when he first told me about him. Did a little bit of research. And Shane puts up pretty funny sketches on YouTube, pretty funny sets that he has. And he was on Saturday Night Live. Was. Very briefly, very temporary. He's no longer on Saturday Night Live. He got a little heat from that. But I watched a couple of the videos and everything, and, I was excited for the show. So come last Saturday, the show was, I think, about 8:30. We get there, and as we're waiting in line for the show, there's a couple standing at the front of the line, heckling everybody. Like, heckling people as they're walking out of the venue, heckling people as they're walking in, heckling people as they're walking up. Just drunk and obnoxious. And I'm going to circle back to these people in a second here, but, they literally had something to say about everybody that was standing in line. And, we get through, they get inside, everyone gets inside, we sit down. And before the show got started, before even that, great venue, and they were extremely smart about social distancing. Everyone was required masks, all that. I just want to mention that so I don't get anyone too concerned. We sit down, we order food, we order drinks, and before the show started, I went upstairs and I went to the bathroom real quick. Now, as I was walking into the bathroom, someone walked out and held the door open for me, and I just got a quick glance of them. I just said thank you, walked in, took care of business. And then on the way out, as I was walking back downstairs, I thought about it. I was like, whoa, the guy who held the door open for me looked an awful lot like the guy that is performing tonight. I don't know. I could be wrong. So I get downstairs. I tell my boys about him, like, yo, I may be wrong, but Shane Gillis might have just definitely held the bathroom door open. I could be wrong, though. And so they got a kick out of that. And when I got back and after we got the food and everything, my one friend who invited us to the show went upstairs to go to the bathroom. And he comes back downstairs. He's like, okay, the guy who's opening for Shane Gillis just held the bathroom door open for me. So that makes me think, like, do they have these comedians working the door at the bathroom, holding it open for people, getting them stoked for the show? I don't know, but I thought it was pretty funny. Now to get into the show, the people that opened for Shane Gillis, I really wish I could remember their names. There are two of them. Cannot remember their names. I do know one of their names was Chris, so automatically, like, if you got a name like Chris, GOAT. And the guy was hilarious. I wish I could, like, look him up right now and, refer him, whatever. But you're just going to have to take my word for it. Extremely funny. The other guy who came out as well, don't know his name either. Really funny too. And then Shane Gillis comes out. He does his set. He does everything. Hilarious. Like I said, like, I'd never seen him before. I've just seen stuff on YouTube. And probably about halfway through the show, he spits out a couple political jokes, couple jokes on Trump. Nothing harmful, nothing that would really, like, offend anybody, or, well, like, you would think that wouldn't offend anybody. But that wasn't the case. So the couple that was standing at the front of the line going into the show, they stood up. And right there, I was like, okay, something's going on here. So they stood up, and Shane was like, whoa, are you hurt by the Trump jokes? And they were. The couple that, thought it was funny to heckle everybody gets a little taste of their own medicine. And, they could not take the heat, so they had to get out of the kitchen. He spits off a couple more, and that was it. That was the final straw for this couple. And it was an older couple, too. So, like, I don't know. You'd think that they could take something, but I was wrong. They ended up getting their stuff and walking out of the show halfway through. And at the same time that they walked out, one of my buddies that was sitting at the table with us, he walked out right behind him to go to the bathroom. So it really looked like this hurt couple and then my boy were offended by the Trump jokes. Like, as they were walking out, as my boy was walking out, I started a little clap going on for him. People followed suit. They clapped as well. I mean, he came back from the bathroom after, but I thought it was pretty funny that happened. And after the show, at the show, going into it, I missed one of, like, the main parts of it, like, one of my favorite parts about it. They had a wall of everything that, or like everybody that was coming that year. Everyone's coming in 2021 to that specific venue in Raleigh. Couple good comedians. And then coming in October, Stormy Daniels. Now, what is Stormy Daniels going to do at a comedy club? What is she going to put on for us? I don't know. So I'm going to have to get the tickets for that. Like, I'm going to see Stormy Daniels at Goodnight in Raleigh. I don't know. I mean, I guess hopefully I'm in for a surprise. We'll see about it. But we left the show. I was extremely satisfied with how it went. Definitely worth the time. I would go back to another one. 100% I'd go back to another one. But up on that wall, like, there wasn't anybody that, like, I really recognized. But maybe, like, there's other clubs around that'll have people that maybe I know. So I get home from the show, and it's probably like 11:30, whatever. And I end up starting a movie with my mom, sitting downstairs. And it was a movie with Johnny Knoxville. Now, if you haven't heard of this movie, look it up, because I'm about to tell you the name. Look it up so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. Okay, so the movie is called The Ringer, and it came out in the early 2000s, I believe. And if I could describe it any way, like, if you didn't spend a quick second to look up about The Ringer, it is probably, like, the least politically correct movie you could ever think of. Now, I'm not going to get into details about the movie. I think that you should do your own work on that. Or if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hilarious movie. And if that came out anywhere close to today, last year, even in the last, like, 10 years, oh my God, they would get extreme backlash for this. Like, people wouldn't be able to handle themselves if this came out, like, recently. So watch that movie with her, and that kind of concluded my Saturday night. Now, going into Sunday, I'd scheduled this for a few days before. I planned to go down to Wilmington to meet up with a friend, to get lunch, then watch the game, which we did. I drove down early morning, and we got tacos in the early afternoon, hung out all day. We were hanging out down by the water in Wilmington, like right in downtown Wilmington. He lives like right there. So we spent the day outside because it was super nice out, like a little bit of wind, but like I wasn't complaining. And then we watched the Super Bowl that night. Now, with the Super Bowl, I'm not a big NFL fan, and I think I've mentioned that before. Like, I play fantasy football, but I only know like teams and like certain players. So going into the game, I didn't have a preference on, who would win or who I wanted to win. What I would have liked to see, I would have liked to see Tom Brady win. Like that was my thought going into the game. And that were kind of my hopes. I mean, going for his 7th ring in his 10th Super Bowl performance, I wanted to see that. And he gets so much hate, which, I'm super confused about. Like, he's a good guy. Like, he's a crazy good quarterback. Like, and people are just hating on him because he's good. Like, can you name anything else that, like, is so obvious that just makes him a bad guy other than all his Super Bowl rings, other than, like, kissing his kid on the lips? I mean, that's it. That's like watching Michael Jordan go to the championship for his 7th and people hating on him for it. Like, who just hates on Michael Jordan? I don't know. I'm sure in his time there were people that hated Michael Jordan for being good. I don't know. But I wanted to see Tom Brady pull it out. I mean, going from one of the best teams down to Tampa Bay with arguably like one of the worst teams. I wanted to see him do the impossible. I wanted to see him pull it off. And to my surprise, your boy did it. He pulled it off. Now, going into the game, I wasn't there to watch the game. I was there for the commercials. I was there for the halftime show. And I was there to see what memes would come out of this game. I'm not too impressed with all the memes that did come out about the game. Like, the main template that I've seen for memes is just like the Weeknd walking down that hallway. And it's just not a lot of good content out there for the memes. So I'm kind of disappointed with that. Now, when it came to the commercials, there were some good commercials. There were also some bad commercials. There were some corny ones. For example, the oat milk commercial with the guy playing the piano in the field. I wouldn't say it was the best commercial, but it was like one of the most like memorable ones. Like, this is one that like I remember the most out of all of them. And it really makes me think. So like, we have the good commercials, the corny ones, and then we just have like the straight up bad commercials. Like the commercials where it finishes and you sit there and think like, what did I just watch? Did they really just advertise for that? I mean, corporations are paying millions of dollars to get on TV during the Super Bowl to get their name out there. So like, one would think if we're about to pay $6.5 million for 30 seconds, like, we're going to exhaust all of our resources. We're going to do the absolute best to stand out. Like, with this, you have marketing, you have like execs, stakeholders, all of these people like contributing, like working together to make the best commercial. And where I'm confused is like, with all these people working together and like you got to get approval for everything, like how does it still come out trash? Like, there's no way that like a company finishes watching their commercial they made and just sit there and like, oh yeah, that was super good. Like, that's going to get everyone's attention. Maybe with some commercials they did that, but with the bad ones, like, it just blows my mind. Like, you have a whole team of people that create this, and then you have to get approval for these commercials. And how is literally like everybody on board with it? How is everyone on the same page and think that, their commercial is going to be worth $6.5 million? Like, these people go home and they're watching the games with their family and friends, and like the marketing team, like they're like, all right, guys, like, guys, the commercial's coming on. Be quiet. The commercial's coming on. The commercial plays, and then just imagine it being one of those bad commercials, and then your family and friends just like turn and look at you, and they're like, really? Like, that's what all the work went towards? That's what you spent all that money on? I don't know. It blows my mind that, I don't know, that they put out commercials like that were so bad for so much money. And I don't know. I mean, they're doing more than me. Like, I couldn't afford to put $6.5 million into a 30-second commercial. But if I did have $6.5 million to put in a 30-second commercial, you better believe like it's going to be like the most memorable, the funniest, like you remember it the most. I'm going to go all out with it. Like I'm bringing in cameos, like you name it, it's going to be the best commercial alive. And maybe like these corporations had that in mind, like, all right, like this is going to be it. This is going to be our big thing. And then it's just a bad commercial. You know, that's what I got. That's my beef I have with the Super Bowl commercials. Just think like, how does it get past all these levels and everyone's just on the same page? That's what blows my mind. Like that's where I'm confused about. Outside of the commercials, the halftime show, the memes, the second half of the game, what in the world happened? I mean, from the jump, the Bucs were putting pressure on Mahomes in the backfield, like from play one. But it's like the second half came and they just ramped it up. They're like, all right, we did great first half. Let's do even better. And it was obvious. And then probably the offensive line was like, okay, we did all right in the first half. Let's do even worse. And they did just that. Like, I have no idea how they managed to let the defensive line and all these defenders into the backfield play after play after play, putting pressure on Mahomes, making him scramble, pushing him outside the pocket, dodging and juking people. And then I don't know how, I mean, I guess it's a talent. Like he threw the ball away just about every time and avoided being sacked. But you would think like after a couple plays, maybe, I don't know. I could be wrong. But the offensive line should have gotten it together. And what I will say, like, I do think that the refs gave the Bucs a couple of things. You know, they gave him a couple penalties. I mean, it's Tom Brady playing. Of course, they're going to side with Tom Brady. But you would think, like, after all of these flags and stuff and the advantages that the Bucs got, that the Chiefs would pop back, that they would clap back on the Bucs and, you know, perform like they have. Returning Super Bowl champs, had a great season this year, had a great season last year. And then you get to the Super Bowl and you just fumble the bag. How does that happen? Like, it will be understandable if the score was like 31 to like 28 or like 31-26 or like a field goal or like a touchdown away difference. You would think that would be the case. But the Chiefs got embarrassed. And I'm sorry for all the Chiefs listeners, all the fans. I mean, I'm looking for the justification on like their performance. How does that happen? Patrick Mahomes, he fumbled the bag there. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is with the Super Bowl. I don't know. You know, that's my little take on my weekend recap. Now, I did say that it is Friday right now as I'm releasing this episode, probably Saturday if the episode's coming up on YouTube. So I got one thing I'm looking forward to this weekend. There's one thing going on this weekend that, you know, everyone's stoked about. Well, maybe all like their girlfriends. It's Valentine's Day. So shout out to all the people with Valentine's Day or Valentine's. Me personally, I don't need one. You know who I got? I got my main homie, my mom. Now, my mom's always coming in clutch with a Valentine's Day gift. So, like, what more do I need? So, Mom, you're listening to this episode right now. You've been asking me about it. Shout out to you. No doubt you're the GOAT. Love you. What's up? Thanks for listening, Mom. So, yeah, looking forward to Valentine's Day for that. You know, Mom, I got a little gift coming your way. Look forward to it. And that's it. That's what I have on this past weekend and this coming weekend recap / preview. What I do want to get into now, we talked about it 2 weeks ago. We didn't talk about it all last week because I followed through with telling my personal story of swimming and my swimming career, which I love doing. But I should have mentioned it. And we're talking about the stock market. Would you have guessed we're getting into the stock market today? Probably. Like 9 times out of 10, people are going to guess that I'm going to talk about stocks. So that's what I'm doing. And since the last episode when I talked about all of the craziness going on Wall Street, all the craziness going on Wall Street bets, on Reddit, Robinhood, all of these apps, it has completely flipped. Now, the night that I published the last podcast talking about all of this, I finished recording, I uploaded, I went downstairs and I ate dinner. And as I was eating dinner, I was scrolling through Wall Street Bets. Like, I wanted to see what's good. I wanted to see what the market was going to bring on that Wednesday morning. And, Wall Street Bets was going crazy. All that week, Wall Street Bets was going crazy. And I'm scrolling through, I'm sorting by new, and I go to refresh it to see what's up. And I get a notification that says, you're locked out of the community. Whoa, Wall Street Bets, what do you have going on here? Locked out of the community? Like, why now? Now, I'm not a rookie to Wall Street Bets. This ain't nothing new to me. So, it wasn't so surprising that they locked the community down. They locked the subreddit down temporarily. It's not the first time. It's not the second time. It might not even be the third time. But I think by them, closing out the subreddit temporarily, I think that really fueled investors and fueled these people like, okay, like, we get it now. Like, now we're going to buy even more and we're going to hold even longer. Like, just despite Wall Street Bets. I mean, it was back up within like an hour and people were back talking about it. But I think that was like the straw that broke the camel's back going into Wednesday morning. Now, with these new trading apps, Robinhood, Webull, Interactive Broker, all these ones that make investing so simple, they really don't allow after hours trading. So if you want anything to get done, it's going to have to be at market open, which is 9:30 Wednesday morning. And me personally, like, I had a couple things that I wanted to double down on. GameStop, no, I'll get into that. But I had other things that, I wanted to ramp up. So come that night, I put in my order for doubling down on my stuff, and I got to wait till market open for it to execute. I wake up the next morning, probably around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I just look at the app. I just want to see, like, where these stocks are at for the day, like, where I'm looking for Wednesday morning. And everything was up like crazy. Like, you would expect it, especially after Wall Street Bets going down the night before. You would expect it. Fall back asleep. I wake up literally right at 9:30, and I'm like, all right, my order is going to execute. I'm doubling down, and it's going to look good. That wasn't the case. That was not the case at all with Robinhood. And it wasn't the case at all with all these other apps. Robinhood completely shut down that morning. You couldn't do a single thing on Robinhood. You couldn't buy, you couldn't sell, you couldn't deposit or withdraw money, nothing. The app was about just as useful as downloading a flashlight app for the iPhone. It wasn't even worth having at the moment. So personally, I was extremely mad. Like, I could not do anything. None of my orders went through. I couldn't even withdraw my money without it giving me problems and the app crashing. So like, that was the first thing that kind of pissed me off. The start of it. I was all right with Wall Street Bets closing down because it opened back up. But Robinhood, like, limiting traders and like doing all that, like, the exact same thing happened back in March of 2020. At the start of the coronavirus. Like, when the market was going down, when the market was tanking, the app just didn't work. And it was the same thing 2 Wednesdays ago. It happened again. And then, Robinhood gets it together a little bit. I'm like, all right, they got it. Let me see if I can execute my trades now. And I couldn't, because you know what they did? They completely disabled the option to buy any stocks. Well, not any stocks, but these Reddit crazy stocks. Was it a smart decision? I don't know about that. So just when that happened, like, that's a great start to my Wednesday. Like, I'm already pissed off that my stuff didn't go through. Already pissed off that I could not withdraw my money from my account. And then, like, just to add to it, like, you couldn't buy anything. And as you would expect with something like that happening, with brokerage firms limiting the supply for an app or for a stock, the price is going to go down. The price is going to tank. And we saw exactly that with GameStop, with AMC, with BlackBerry, with Nokia. Downhill. Because, we're going to hit on basic economics here. Like, when the demand is there, like, it's going to continue to push the price up. The demand was there. The demand was not there because these apps were just limiting it. They said, nah, you don't need it. So, you know what that did? That dropped all of those stocks to the ground. Now, at the time, at the high of GameStop, it was trading at $483 for one share of GameStop. It's unreal. But you got to think, is that price increase justified? I don't know about that. I don't know. And, leading up to that, I had people reach out to me, ask me, like, Chris, did you buy into GameStop? Did you get it? Like, what are you looking forward to? Like, what's going to happen with it? Where are we going? We going to the moon? And each time I told the person, I said, no, I did not get into GameStop because I know what's coming with GameStop. I knew what was going to happen. It was only a matter of time when that would occur. Now, if we look back even further in Just Chris podcast, there's an episode where I hit on the evolution of asset price bubbles. And I talked about the life cycle of a bubble. I talked about like what influences it and what concludes with the life cycle of a bubble, like what finishes it off. And leading up to Robinhood and all these apps limiting trading on GameStop, I saw everything that we talked about. I knew it was coming. I did not want to get into it at all. Like, people definitely made money. Like, people made stacks off off GameStop, but I wasn't taking on the risk because at that point, like, you're just gambling your money. I'm not a big fan of that. So that being said, I knew that GameStop wasn't going to last at all. I didn't know how high the price was going to get. I just knew, like, I'm not putting my money into this. Smart decision on my part. For other people, maybe not. It's kind of unreal that people put money in at $350 and then the next day it drops down to $45. The only thing I can say about that, like, it's only a loss when you sell it. So, like, right now, people are looking at fat, unrealized losses. It is what it is. But back to talking about it being a bubble, it's so obvious. And what I mentioned in the episode was, for the most part, you can only tell it's a bubble after the bubble has occurred. For the most part. For some, like for me personally, like I knew what was coming. Like I said, like I wasn't gonna risk it. I didn't put money in Bitcoin back in 2017, 2018. I knew what was gonna come, and like it's unjustified. And if you look at GameStop as a company, do you really think like it has the things to support that crazy price? There's no way, because just 2 years ago, the stock was trading at $2 to $3. Now, between then and now, what has changed so much that has allowed it to get to that price? Like, there is no fundamental reason for the price to increase to that level. Which is why like it was influenced by investor behavior. 100%. Like, there's no doubt about it. I mean, look at GameStop. They've been lowballing all of us for years. How is a company whose business model is to like lowball all of your stuff? I fell victim to it. I'm sure 1,000 or 1,000,000 other people have. Like, you buy a new Xbox, you're ready to turn it in. $400 Xbox, you get $150. 30 different games, all bought brand new, played for a year. Nah, you're getting $25. So, like, if that's GameStop's business model, how are you going to expect it? Or how is the price going to be justified there? And then in addition to that, GameStop is still just a brick and mortar corporation. Like, they have physical stores that you go into. So to think like within this past year with the coronavirus, stay-at-home orders, quarantine, all of that, how is a place that you have to go into? Now, they do have like online stuff, but like primarily you go into the store. How is a place like that doing so well compared to all these other places? Like, a ton of different corporations have moved to online stuff, e-commerce, like numbers going through the roof. But GameStop, like I said, like GameStop doesn't have the numbers to support that price. And a lot of people who put money into it, maybe some people, they knew that. But I would say like majority of people, like they were buying into it just because other people were buying into it. And that goes back to the life cycle of a bubble. With the gradual increase in price when we're looking at it, it starts with media attention, it's picking up press, followed by like the boom, like everybody wants in. And from the moment that GameStop started getting all this press, it's bad news bears. It was bad news for GameStop. Like by the time people bought in, it was way too late. Way too late. And it's a bummer. It's a huge, huge bummer. I mean, for people to take losses like that, like, yeah, I do feel bad. But what kind of irks me a little bit here is all of these new to the block investors, quick to download Robinhood, quick to invest money into GameStop. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't have a problem with people wanting to get involved in the stock market. Go for it. Like, I encourage it. Like I've talked about in other episodes. But when you're going for it and then acting like you're running the show here, come on, dude. You're just about as good as the people who put money in Bitcoin at 20,000. Same thing, okay? They act like they run the show, and then looking at Wall Street Bets a year ago, 2 years ago, looking at like all the conversations in that, like Wall Street Bets subreddit, it's crazy, and it talks about like the most absurd things. But if you look at what was talked about then, and then you look at what's talked about now, it's oversaturated with this same kind of posts all of the time throughout the day. Hold your stocks, fat gains, here for the tendies, only on GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry, and Nokia. And it kind of gets on my nerves. Like, I'm not hating on the investors. I'm not hating on these new to the block investors. But guys, come on. Come on here. I think GameStop served as an incredible learning experience for a ton of people. And maybe that's going to influence their decisions later down the road when they go to invest more money. But to top it off, what I'm going to say here to conclude the conversation on this, a bubble pops when it experiences a dramatic downfall in price. And a lot of the times, like, there's outside influences that kind of like encourage that motion, encourage the bubble to pop. But with this case specifically, it was influenced by big brokerages, by Wall Street. It was influenced by them. And through what I believe, in my opinion, was market manipulation. 100%. You cannot convince me otherwise that these big names didn't manipulate the market here. We had our fun for a while. The retail investors had their fun for a while. But, after that, they're like, nope, we're pulling the plug. GameStop, no more. Nokia, no more. AMC, no more. BlackBerry, no more. We're done playing the games because in the end, Wall Street always wins. Unfortunately. And that's just the way it is. Like, it sucks that it's like that. But it is what it is. Now, I am on the side of the retail investors because, I am a retail investor. But then again, like, I do see where Wall Street's coming from with this. Like, in the heat of the moment, like, I was 100 against Wall Street and all of their things they're doing. But, it's been about 2 weeks since that happened. Looking back on it, I'm like, okay, like, it's understandable. Is it right? No, not at all. And I think that, these big firms should definitely see their day. Right now, there's tons of lawsuits, class action lawsuits going out against these big brokerage firms, these big online things like Robinhood and Webull. And I think they should see their thing, especially when they get on air. The CEO gets on air and just straight up lies. No, bro, like, I'm not a fan of that. I think that's the wrong way to go about it. I don't know. I'm not going to continue down this path with GameStop and everything because I've said what I've said. And that's my take on the Reddit frenzy and all of these apps. Now, for some of these stocks, there's a potential. There's a future for some of these tech stocks that were involved in this. In conclusion, all of that being said, GameStop, completely unjustified. The fundamentals do not support the stock price. And, it has what it's coming, unfortunately. Now, to get into the next topic, the last thing I want to talk about today, I talked about the Super Bowl. And when it comes to the Super Bowl and all these big games, people bet money against it or with it, whatever. People put money down for specific things to come out of it. Betting ranges anywhere from betting on what side the coin is going to land on to who defends first, who gets the ball first, who kicks first, who scores the first touchdown. There's so many different things to bet on. And even like as crazy as what color is the Gatorade going to be when they pour it on the coach? Or is it going to be an offensive or defensive player that pours the Gatorade on the coach? There's that kind of crazy betting going on. But the betting that I'm talking about here, what I'm going to mention, it's not going to be made during the game or before the game. This type of thing is going to be made after the game ends because you're waiting on the results of the game to put your money down. And what I'm going to talk about is the Super Bowl indicator. And I wasn't very familiar with this term until Super Bowl Sunday. I get up and, I get my daily email from Investopedia with a term. And they talked about the Super Bowl indicator. And for those that aren't familiar with the Super Bowl indicator, I understand. Like I was there as well. This is how it goes, okay? So if the AFC wins, the markets are going to go down in that coming year. Now, if the NFC wins, the markets are going to go up for that coming year. So you think about it, okay, who won? Which means, if you can take a guess here, the markets are going up this year. So take out your bets right now. But before I say that, I would like to say that I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I qualified to give any type of investment advice. But, we're going off statistics here. The market's expected to go up just off of this win. Now, to get deeper into it, we have the numbers to support that. We have the stats here, okay? So, as of January of 2020, 40 of the last 53 Super Bowls, the Super Bowl indicator projected right. Meaning 75% of the time, it was right. 75% of the time, the market, reacted according to who won or who lost the Super Bowl. However, since 2008, it was wrong 8 of 13 times. 8 of 13 times. So when you look at the last, 10, 11 years, like the numbers ain't in your favor. But you look at, since the beginning of the Super Bowl, you got a 75% chance of being right here. 75% chance of you making money off betting on the markets going up or down. So take out your options, put your calls down, put your puts down. I mean, with this year specifically, put your calls down because the markets are going up. That's what I think. Now, to get even further into it, with Tom Brady doesn't have a great influence on the stock market. When Tom Brady is making an appearance in the Super Bowl, the stocks don't do well. So, on average, when Brady does make a Super Bowl appearance, markets are only up by 0.5%. Only 0.5%, okay? Kind of wild. However, if Tom Brady loses, just loses, on average, the markets are down 10.4%. So when he plays, just makes an appearance, up 0.5%. When he loses, down on average 10.4%. And what did Tom Brady do? Man, he brought it home. He got his 7th. What are we expecting for this coming year? We're expecting fat gains. We're expecting tendies. The markets are going up this year, guys. Keep an eye out for it. Come next year, go back to this episode and listen to it and be like, dang, was Chris right about that? Did he really call the shots there? I didn't call the shots. You know, we got the numbers here. We're backing it with the statistics. So that being said, keep an eye out for it. You know, I'm going to hope that my word's going to stay true. If not, anyways, that is what I have for this week's episode, you guys. Thank you for listening. And as always, you know where to find me. justchrispodcast@gmail.com. You know, hit me with any questions, hit me with comments, concerns, keep them to yourself. But that's how to find me. You want to leave me a voice message, the link is in the description. In addition to that, Scott Barker's YouTube link is in the description, so check that out. And, you know, that's what I got for this week's episode. So episode 13, done. It's in the books. Guys, take it easy, and I will talk and see all of you next week. Thank you for listening.